it's refreshing to play something like Wildlands after spending so much time in Arma. You know, playing Wildlands, it's been fun. I mean, it's got its classic Ubisoft charm, or I'm using the word charm because I kind of like it. I find that Ubisoft, that classic Ubisoft formula, kind of endearing. But at the same time, I can totally see the frustrations of that the players have, right? Playing a Ubisoft game, like it's so it's weird because it's like, even though they have all these different franchises, right? Far Cry, The Division, or sorry, Far Cry, Tom Clancy games, Watchdog series, Assassin's Creed. They have quite a few, and they all seem to kind of blend in to make the same game, right? Like Far Cry feels a lot like Wildlands. There's not a lot separating those two. They kind of follow the same formula, like skins and customization, and they have this, like, I don't know. I guess to say a positive thing about the Ubisoft formula would be that they prioritize fun, and customization and open worlds, right? Even though some may say that those worlds are kind of devoid and lifeless and soulless. And it's like, it's a giant world, and it's beautifully crafted, but it's like there's not much to do. Like, if unless you're someone who enjoys scenery, like just walking around looking at shit, which I do to a certain extent, of course. So I want to shoot stuff. That's why I'm playing Wildlands. I'm not a photographer. You know, so this isn't Nat Geo Wildlands. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I do want to have fun. That's literally the main reason I play video games, and the rest is just bonuses, right? Exploration, collecting, sightseeing, trophy hunting. All of that is just, to me personally, it's just bonuses. The meat of the game is the combat, right? The action. That's what keeps you playing games like Ghost Recon, right? You don't want to buy Ghost Recon and be like, all I'm doing is taking screenshots, which honestly is kind of weird. But hey, man, however you play the game, especially now that it's on sale here in 2024, it's July of 2024. The game's on sale for like $5, and it's always on sale for like a dirt cheap price. And it's like, if you haven't picked it up, grab it, man. $5, can't lose. It's like, especially if you like action games, like, I highly recommend this. Like, I can see how it was kind of a big deal when it first came out. I didn't play it when it first came out, so I can't tell you if it was like, bug ridden, or it wasn't tweaked well. But the Wildlands that stands today, as of 2024, is pretty fucking fun, and I'm enjoying it with my other friends, and we're gonna see it through. We're exploring every section of the map. We're collecting pretty much everything that we need. Some files, skill points, all the bells and whistles. We're going through it. We're making sure that we thoroughly run through this game, and we're all enjoying it. And we're gonna play Breakpoint next, which is like that's a sore spot for a lot of gamers, right? Coming from Wildlands to Breakpoint. I haven't played Breakpoint. I saw some videos on it, and honestly, what I saw looks fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie, but what do I know? I'm a casual gamer. It seems like lots of people were expecting more from Breakpoint, and I picked that up for like $6 or something like that, $6 or $7. So I'm like, damn, I got a lot of a game. I got this big chunky piece of meat to bite into with Wildlands as well as Breakpoint. So these are the two games that I'm going to be spending most of my multiplayer hours on, because I have a single player game that I'm playing right now, which is Fallout 4 on survival difficulty. That's what I'm playing now. It's been a mixed bag so far. I love the difficulty aspect of it. I really do. Because lately I've just been enjoying playing games on hard, even games that I've already finished. And I always revisit Fall. I haven't revisited Fallout 4 in such a long time. I played it originally. I went through one run, spent a lot of time on it, spent like maybe a few months on it, and then played the DLC after some time, and then that's it. I never went back and revisited it, and now I am. So, and I'm doing it on the survival difficulty, which I'm enjoying for the most part, although there's some frustrations. So, excuse me. I gotta take a drink, man. In order for me to record, I have to turn. I don't have no AC in my apartment, so in order for me to record, I have to turn off the only two fans that I have, and I'm boiling right now. So, what I was gonna say originally, fucking 5 minutes ago, of a rant, is that, what's the difference between a podcast and a rant? To me, they're like the same thing, right? So, with Wildlands, it's refreshing to take a nice break from playing something as realistic as Arma, right? It's not as taxing as Arma. It's not, sure, not as difficult as Arma, but like that, playing Wildlands reinforces this idea that I've had for a while, and it's that realism doesn't always translate to fun. Although, to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit, realism is fun. Hence why I dropped like 450 hours, something like that, on Arma, right? Because I enjoyed the realism, right? I went down that rabbit hole, bro. Like I was so into the realism aspect of Arma that I was tweaking settings to like real life statistics. Like I went online and I actually, like, I used Brave. I don't use Google, but I used like Brave, and I went online and I was looking up what is the average shooting percentage of like a police officer or a soldier. Like I was reading articles, right, for Arma because I wanted to set the most realistic difficulty setting. And what's crazy is, like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who did that. Now, if I say that to someone else, like another casual gamer, they'll go like, "Why are you doing that? Just play the fucking game, bro." Put the difficulty setting on somewhere you feel it's comfortable and play the game. You don't have to look up articles. Totally. I understand 100%. But I was in, man. I was like, I had the Arma bug. And I was like, I got to make these difficulty settings as real as possible, right? Like, fuck difficult, fuck hard, fuck easy, fuck normal, right? Let's make it realistic. If realistic is easy, great. If realistic is hard, great. I'm looking for realistic, if that makes any sense. So, in case you guys are wondering, believe it or not, I think I've said this before. Don't hate me, but the most realistic settings, believe it or not, I believe is recruit, which is the first setting, right? Because like, there's no magic number. I think I've said this before. I'm sorry if I'm repeating this again. It's going to be some boring statistics. I guess you can skip ahead if you like. I can't give you a fucking skip ahead to this number. Just keep skipping ahead till you hear me not be so dorky. So it turns out that less than the shooting percentage of trained police officers as well as military personnel is less than 30%, right? But it also depends on the situation. I can't, there is no magic number. You just can't say it's less than 30%. That's how their accuracy is. It's not. It depends. Like, was it night? Less visibility? How far away was the suspect or the victim, whatever the case may be? Like, there's lots of factors that increase or decrease the percentage of your aiming percentage. So it's hard to give you a ballpark. I give you a ballpark figure, but it's hard for me to give you a concrete number because there is no magic number. And they've done studies on this, believe it or not, extensive studies that have, and when I say extensive, I mean decades of like checking out your police officers or military personnel's, your combatants or whatever, like their shooting accuracy. This has been going on for quite a while, so you can kind of rely on it, even though the numbers are not concrete. But long story short, it's fucking rare for anyone, even the best shooter in your squad, to have more than 50% accuracy. That is a rarity, right? You can go to the shooting range, and I mean, I'm nothing that I'm saying is revolutionary. Anyone, like, I've only went to the shooting range one time in my life, so you're more than welcome to tell me to shut the fuck up. Totally. Like, I don't know too much about this. I just know what I'm reading. And from what I see, or what I read and I understood, is that it's rare for someone to have more than 50% accuracy. Now, you can go to the range and have more than 50% accuracy because you're used to the range, right? If you practice, you're moving, you already know how far the targets are moving, if they're even moving at all. Some people go to the range and shoot stationary targets. Some people, kind of have the moving targets. But like, what people fail to understand is they don't incorporate real life emotions, right? Like, when you see a suspect or someone who's shooting at you, your adrenaline is like spiking, right? Like, you're panicking, you're shooting, you're just hoping that you get the bullet, you hit them with the bullet first, right? We hit them with the shot first, so they can be neutralized or die or whatever the fucking word you want to use. Disposed of. You fucking find the word. Eliminate. Okay. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you fail to, people, not you, people, they fail to take into account human emotions, right? like I just said. So like that automatically decreases your shooting percentage by a lot because you could be the best shooter in the range, but like, are you the most level-headed? Are you the most coolest? Are your nerves, made of steel? Like, you know what I mean? Like you could be the best shooter. The worst shooter could be the most steely nerved, and then the best shooter could be the most panicky one, right? So you really don't know. There's a lot of factors that go on. But anyways, playing Wildlands, all that shit goes out the window, right? It's very arcadey. Even I'm playing it right now in like the hardest difficulty, which is I think extreme mode slash immersion mode or simulation mode. That's what it's called. I love that difficulty, and it's man, I can't explain it because I talk a lot. This is what I'm doing now. It strikes extreme mode slash simulation mode strikes the perfect balance between realism and arcade. It's video gamey, but not enough to kind of turn uh military sim heads off. So like if you're a milsim guy, like maybe you served in the military, or you are just an avid, gun enthusiast or whatever, like it won't turn you off. You'll have fun with this. But you got to put it on that setting. You put it on easy, it's game over. You're just running around being a bullet sponge, killing everybody while standing in the middle of the field. Kind of like I always think of Hot Shots Part Deux with fucking Charlie Sheen, and that Rambo scene. He's just standing like in a pile of his own like cartridges or spent bullets or whatever. It's I always think of that. Like it's great. I don't turn everything off the HUD, although I've seen gameplays where everybody where people, especially like hardcore milsim guys, they would turn off the HUD and put it on extreme mode, and it looks phenomenal. Mine's is like halfway there. I turned off the mini map. I turned off like some things that would aid you. Like for example, there's this thing called like cloud. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. I hope you didn't hear that. But there's this thing that like on the mini map it looks like a cloud, and it kind of shows you the approximate location of an enemy that's there. I don't like that. I don't want that I don't want that. So I turned that off. I turned the entire mini map off. So like if you're being hunted by like let's say a squad that has been called as reinforcements, I wouldn't know. I would hear the radio chatter, so I would kind of know they're coming, but I don't know where direction they're coming from. So that kind of adds another element of like stay on your toes. It's ups the difficulty a little bit, which I like. I love the hit detection thing. Like you get shot like once or twice. It could be end. That could be the end of it, and I like that because they also die quickly. So it's kind of like a realism. That's the realism aspect to it. It's still video gamey as hell. You could just jump in a helicopter and fly and destroy the helicopter. Jump out of a parachute, then jump into a car, and run over a few dudes. Then like it's still very much an Ubisoft game, but it feels good. It feels good to have a break from something as taxing as Arma, right? Although Arma is my sweetheart, right? I still love Arma, but I guess it's just fun. It's refreshing to take a break. It's so goddamn refreshing to mark your enemies because my number one problem with Arma, right? And there's quite a few, but my biggest problem with Arma, hands down, would be I never know or rarely know where the enemy is shooting at me from, right? And even there's been so many situations where I actually pinpointed the exact location of where they're shooting me from because I saw their muzzle flash or something like that, right? Like some sort of a detector for me to know. Maybe he ran from bush to another bush. So I know the exact location where he's at. And he's shooting at me, and I still can't see this fucker. I understand camouflage. That's the way it would be in real life, right? Like, oh, if you're fighting in the woods and your enemy's wearing woodland camouflage, of course you're not going to see them. That's the purpose of the camouflage. It's too realistic, and it kind of it gets you pissed off because you're dying. They know where you're at. The AI. I play mostly single player and multiplayer. I don't really do PvP. Guys already know that. So it's hard for me to like have fun sometimes because I'm like, I call it. I used to call Arma the who the fuck shot me simulator. That's what I call it. And that was my biggest problem. So playing Wildlands and marking enemies and actually seeing, it's unrealistic as hell. It's arcadey as hell. It's video gamey as hell, but I fucking love it. I love it. I'm not gonna lie. It feels good knowing exactly where my enemy is. And guess what? Even though you would think that it makes the game easier, and it does, right, to a certain extent, because you know your enemy's exact positions. You can even argue, right, that that kind of takes away the strategic aspect of your mission, of your planning, because if you know where all the enemies are at, what's the point of strategy? It's just shoot and, you know, hope you survive. And honestly, that's the way I like to play this game too. I'm not a big stealth guy. I used to be. I used to love Hitman and Tenchu, like these stealth based games. And not so much now that I'm older. I want to just have fun. And I did have fun playing stuff, but I feel like personally for me, like it almost like it's almost like an OCD simulator, right? Like there's been plenty of times, and have been diagnosed with OCD in my teenage years, right? I since then have gotten handle on it for the most part, but it's a I gotta I got a beef with people who just go, "Oh, that's very OCD of you," or like, "Oh, why are you so OCD about this?" I feel like OCD it's become just a, a like a neurotic quirk can be OCD. It's like no, obsessive compulsive disorder is a disorder, and it's not a good one depending on what you have. But people kind of like personalize it, they accessorize it, right? Like, oh my god, I got OCD about buying shirts, and I'm just like, I don't think that's how you should use OCD personally. Whatever. You do whatever you want, man. It's your life. Point is, games like Tenchu and Hitman that are stealth based games where you have to do everything perfectly were like OCD simulators to me when I was a kid, when I was younger, not a kid. And I loved it. And every time I fucked up, I would restart the mission. I'll make sure that I didn't get caught. And I would do this for hours, right? Just feeding the OCD, and it was fun and it was frustrating, but like now that I'm older and I got a better handle on things, I don't enjoy those games as much. And I think the whole OCD thing, having it under control like a little bit definitely helps. Now I'm like, okay, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to Life is messy, you know? So I accepted that. There's germs everywhere. There's dirt everywhere. You're gonna sweat. You're going to be dirty. You might even stink one day. Hey, God forbid you stink, right? When it's 95 degrees outside. So you, the older I got, the more I came to grips with all that, and even my play style changed. Now I'm having fun. Now I like being statistic. I like being good. Like by good, I mean like taking down 3 or 4 guys by myself, and not worrying about stealth, just moving from cover to cover. That feels good. It makes me feel like I don't know, some fucking CS:GO no lifer or something. The uh, the sheer amount of game that you get with Wildlands is wild. No pun intended. Like there's so much to do, and this is without the DLC. I heard the DLC got bad rap, and I don't know exactly why because I haven't played any of them, so I really can't comment too much on that. But I can say that maybe I'll grab it just because it's super cheap now. Excuse me, and it's on sale, so it's like I really don't. I think it's like $3 or something. I was like, how can I fucking turn that down? So I mean, if you it's wild because like I said this earlier, and I want to kind of attack this point a little bit is that I if I know a lot of people are upset with Ubisoft, and honestly, a lot of the time it's shit that's off topic. Like I see people like, "Oh, that the president's an asshole," and I'm just like, first, like you don't know who he is, and for you to just be commenting on those matters, that's kind of weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can hear about someone. Like I hear about Donald Trump all the time. He's a racist. He's he only cares about the rich. And maybe you're right, right? But maybe you're not. You don't know him. So but for you to say that with the utmost confidence, like if that's your homie or like you worked with him or you were in close proximity with him, that bothers me. Cuz it's like you don't know him and neither do I. All I know is what someone else is telling me, which is the media. And you don't think the media has some sort of an agenda? If you look, I'm gonna tell you this right now. All right. If no one has told you before, If you think that the news or any other media outlet of any source or wherever you get it from that tells you the news, whether you read it, whether you watch it, whether you listen to it, if you don't think they have an agenda, you've been lied to, right? Now, what that agenda is, it's up to you to figure that out, right? But they clearly play a side, right? Democratic news leans to the left, Republican news leans to the right. So like you, lots of you already know this, but for those that don't please. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You live your life, but I am going to tell you this. Do not sit in front of the TV and believe that these news companies have your best interest at heart. Do not believe that because they do not. They have their own interests at heart, their bosses' interests at heart, the people who pay them, the companies that pay them, the corporations that pay them, they have their best interests at heart. They don't have yours. So just remember that. Wow, that got deep. I don't even know. There was supposed to be some sort of a segue here. I guess I'll find it somehow. But yeah, all I'm saying is that oh, I think I found it. I don't like when people who don't know other people personally say personal things about them, right? Oh, but he's a pedophile, and it's like if it's been proven like 100%, like there's hardcore concrete evidence, I go, holy shit, he is a pedophile. But if it's something weird and vague, like maybe some dude said an inappropriate comment to someone that was younger, like automatically you assume, oh, he's a pedophile, right? How much more fucking proof do you need, Danny? This 30-year-old man said a 17-year-old was sexy. He's a pedophile. All right, but what you're taking things out of context. What was the context? Give me the full story. Did the girl lie about her age? Did he know she was 17 before he said the comment? Like you got to ask these questions. You just can't run around and just believe what people tell you. Like people take shit out of context all the time. That's how news companies make their bread and butter, right? How many times have you seen the news or seen an actual like footage of something and then you would read it depending on who wrote it and they just twist shit around. It's just it's crazy. What does it have to do with Wildlands? It's hard for me to, or Breakpoint for that matter, it's hard for me to sit here and read comments and completely agree with people when there's so many people here who jump on the bandwagon. And we all know this, right? We all read the Steam comments. We've got those assholes that will play the game for a half hour and be like, this is the worst game I ever played. It's like, brah, you think you want to play for a little more before you say something dramatic like that? I read a comment recently, and thank God the first comment, the first reply from that comment was a dude that was correcting him. But this guy, I forgot which game he was talking about, but he opened up with like, oh, I think it was Breakpoint actually, but he was like, "This game is very traumatic to me." No, Diablo, that's what it was. Playing Diablo is very traumatic to me, and I was like, "Wow, talk about dramatic." And then luckily, the dude under him replied, like, he corrected him, or at least said his piece, and then on the bottom it was kind of like a PS. He was like, "PS." I was like, "That this game was not traumatic to you. It was just a bad game. Relax." Like, like you think it was a bad game. Traumatic? That's come on, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like that you gotta stop that victim. I hate that victim talk. Like, oh my god, I am a victim. It's not my fault. It's society's. Like, don't get me wrong. There's people that've been shafted by society. But come on, man. Like, I just don't like people who don't take accountability. That's what I'm trying to say here. Like, you gotta own up to your mistakes. I know it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and go like, oh shit, I fucked up. It's hard, man. We have pride. You don't want to seem stupid in front of your friends or coworkers or colleagues. So you want to save face, so you'll lie and defend and so Wildlands. Wildlands is I don't know if it was worth it when it first came out, but it's definitely worth it now, right? All of this content, ridiculously low price, right? And if you already have Game Pass, you could play that. You could play there too. You don't even need to buy it really. Um and Breakpoint in the same ballpark, right? Like it's I'll say one other thing about Breakpoint, right? Now that I'm thinking about that whole guy that said that the Diablo is very traumatic to me. Like, I will say that one guy wrote something also that which kind of made me think. He said it was a comment on Steam, and he said, "Oh, I don't. The reason I gave this game a thumbs down is because I don't like Ubisoft's practices of locking the missions behind paywalls, supposedly." And then he wrote, "Oh, as a PS, like, oh, the game is fine. I enjoy the game. Game's fun. It's just I hate their practices." So that's why he gave the game a thumbs down. See, now this is the controversial thing, right? It's like, should if you enjoy a game, if you truly enjoy a game and you like it and you find it fun, should you be giving it a thumbs down because of the owners or the company's business practices? Are we focusing on the company's business practices, or are we focusing on the game itself? Because last time I checked, Steam is a gaming platform, not a political or a you know, it's not where you file some grievances, and it's not customer support. It's not a place for activism. It's a video game. So if you play a game and you like the game, you should say, I like this game. I'm not crazy about Ubisoft's business practices, but I like this game. And you should give it a thumbs up, because you can't sit here in good faith and write this game sucks and then drop 100, 200, 300, 400 hours on it. You can't do that. They obviously they do. When I say you can't do that, I'm being dramatic. It's traumatic for me, all right? So you just can't run around and do that. They do, people do, and I think that's a shitty, weak flaw. You know, like if you're one of those people, man, look at yourself in the mirror and slap yourself. Slap some sense into yourself. Don't really do that, please. Jesus Christ. All right. I don't. Nowadays, you got to leave a disclaimer like that. I'm being funny, or lack of. So don't be that guy. Don't give thumbs down to a game because you want to start an activist chant, like a rebel yell. You know, like if you like the game, state that and give it a thumbs up if you continue to play it. Like, don't, come on, bro. So, but that goes beyond why. Wildlands is not exclusive to this. I see this in pretty much any other game you can think of. If you've played practically any other Ubisoft title that involves action adventure shooting specifically, you kind of played Wildlands. Of course, they're all different characters, different settings, but like I feel like that classic Ubisoft formula that I was speaking about earlier, it's there, it's present, and it's like I don't know. I really hate the fact that they have to make all of their IPs, all of their franchises blend together. They all gel together. They all kind of feel like the same game because they all have the same aspects. Because I'm assuming that whoever's in charge of the business side of things, they're like, oh, dude, we need more skins. We need more customization. We need to have more crossovers. Even in serious military simulators like Tom Clancy games, right? It's like, we'll have skins there, bro. We'll have the fucking Predator come out, dude. Fucking Robocop's gonna come out like with a fucking iron bulldozer, dude. Like, it's just like, relax, like kind of stick to the theme. You can do all of that in Far Cry, man. Go ape shit in Far Cry. Go ape shit in Watch Dogs, right? Like, but leave the military simulator kind of like, let it have its own identity as like semi-serious. I don't mind the game being arcadey. In fact, I kind of want the game to stay kind of arcadey because you still want it to be fun. You still want to have fun with your friends. And sometimes, like I said before, having fun doesn't always translate to realism and vice versa. Like, because the game's too realistic, you're not having fun. Because it's less realistic, you are. So you gotta make some sacrifices. Personally, I would prefer the Tom Clancy series to kind of remain arcadey, but mostly milsim. I heard supposedly there's a new Ghost Recon game coming out 2025, 2026, and they're borrowing inspirations from games like Ready or Not. And that feels good to me. I never played Ready or Not. I have friends who've played Ready or Not. They love it. You know, I have a few friends, two of them, I believe. I know at least of one for sure. And he highly recommended it. He was like, "You guys will love it. It's it's very it's thought provoking. It's challenging, and it's realistic, right?" And to hear that Ubisoft is taking pages from that, right? Awesome. Like that they I hope that what I'm saying comes into fruition, which is I hope that the Tom Clancy franchise remains semi-serious, a semi-serious military simulator. Because you have so many other titles where you can just throw in skins and have crossovers with, fucking Goku or some shit, right? Like there's so many, you have so many franchises you can do that, right? Don't don't do it, like, kind of keep Tom Clancy semi-serious, right? Like, I don't know, man. And now that I think about it, I think of Warzone, like Call of Duty, and then I see motherfuckers running around the battlefield, quote unquote, with like purple camouflage guns and shit. And I'm like, imagine you're a soldier in the military and one of your fucking colleagues pulls out a purple camouflage rifle. You're gonna be like, bro, do you want us to all get murdered? They'll see you from far away, bro. Like, so I understand. Once again, this is why I believe, obviously, Call of Duty is very much half arcadey, half military simulators. Simulator. Half milsim, half arcadey. And I feel like that's what Tom Clancy is. Tom Clancy's Division, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy's Breakpoint. I feel like that's also what they're trying to cover, which is half milsim, half arcade, and I'm on board with that. I'm on board, but just please, for the love of God, I don't even know who I'm begging to, but kind of keep it more milsim than arcadey, right? Like, and please have keep the hard difficulties, the extreme simulator difficulties, keep those in for the love of God, because they're. I think they are, because they know that a good chunk of their players, anyone who plays a Tom Clancy game, expects some sort of actual military, like lingo and all of the features and bells and whistles and tropes that milsim games have. So I'm cool with that. Um, I didn't play Wildlands when it first came out, so once again, I don't know if it was a mess or not. But playing Wildlands now in 2024, I've said this already, it's totally worth it, man. Especially now that it's on sale. And if it's not on sale, when the sale finally finishes on the 11th, the Steam summer sale, you have Game Pass, right? You can always play it on Game Pass, and it's, if once again, if you're someone who likes action games, you got a buddy that you just want to shoot shit and just you know fly helicopters and stuff, and just have this giant, beautiful Bolivian world or country as your playground. Like, it's dope. It's dope to do that. You can criticize it, sure. There's lots of things about the game that you can sit here and if you go through it with a fine tooth comb, you're definitely gonna find problems for sure. But this game is not exclusive to that. You can do that pretty much with everything. Highly recommend it. I hope, saying this before I log off, I hope that the next Tom Clancy game doesn't gel with like Far Cry or Watch Dogs. Like, I hope it's its own thing, and it stands out from the rest of the games, because and kind of breaks that Ubisoft formula, at least for a franchise. They got a lot of beautiful franchises, a lot of franchises that are. Assassin's Creed is fun, man. Far Cry is fun, man. The Tom Clancy games are fun, man. You know, uh, I'm missing one. But anyways, there's quite a few. They got a lot of good franchises. They're all fun, but they're not distinctive. And I would say that's the main problem I have. It's like you got good IPs, good franchises. Like, make them distinct. Make them have their own systems, their own thing, and they do, yes. But like, I'm just saying, at the end of the day, they all blend in. I can tell a Ubisoft game from far away. They have that signature, distinctive style and like dialogue, which is kind of cringeworthy, to be honest with you. And sometimes the decisions they make for characters and dialogue feels like a 16-year-old wrote it, and you know, it feels like it just feels like they're aiming for things to be really cool and whatever. So definitely give it a shot. I'm liking it. I would give it an 8 out of 10, right? And I've dropped how many hours so far as of July 2024? I have dropped 12.4 hours on it, which is, it's not a lot of time, but it's enough for me to give you a good review on it and how the gameplay mechanics work. And it's fun. It's just a fun arcadey shooter with milsim elements. Totally recommend it, man. See you guys.